Someone back in Egypt, he says, but he never tells who. First period, science. We file in, Dallas and Carter walking close behind me. Beep, 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 Dallas says. Beep, 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 beep. What's that noise? Carter asks. Dallas, is your freak alarm going off? Yeah, it's going crazy. I wonder why. Oh, look, it's just George. They shove past me, laughing. Mr. Landau writes on the board. Sweet, salty, sour, bitter. Then he turns around to face us. There's one more, he says. Does anyone know what it is? No one does. Underneath bitter, he writes, umami. You mama, Gabe says. Everyone cracks up, especially Mandy. Mr. Landau looks at Gabe. You know, someone makes that same comment almost every single year. He sighs, like he's really bored. I just never know who it'll be. The class laughs even harder. Score 1 for Mr. Landau. He could teach Miss Warner a thing or two. I wonder if they ever go out for coffee or anything. Umami, Mr. Landau says, is often referred to as the fifth taste. Has anyone ever heard of it? No one has. Umami is a savory taste. Think of excellent Chinese food, a steak, or a perfectly ripe tomato. At which point, Mandy has to tell everyone for the 100th time that ever since she saw her little brother throw up at the Marcos last summer, she can't even think about eating anything with tomatoes. I'm very sorry to hear that, Mr. Landau tells her. He turns back to the board and numbers the tastes, 1 through 5. 1 sweet, 2 salty, 3 sour, 4 bitter, 5 umami. Everyone take out a clean piece of paper. We get out paper and look at him. He makes us wait a few beats, and then he says, What is the taste of human experience? Oh boy, the room is quiet. Can a moment in time be sweet? Can a memory be bitter? I want each of you to spend the next 20 minutes writing about a memory that can be described using the metaphor of taste. Table 1, you will write about a sweet memory. Table 2, a salty memory, and so on. Every hand at table 5 immediately shoots into the air. Mr. Landau calls on Natasha. An umami memory? She asks. Mr. Landau tells her to think of umami as meaning delicious. Natasha nods and starts writing immediately. Table 6 is just me and Bob English who draws. There is no sixth taste on the board. We look at each other. I know he won't raise his hand, because he never does, and he knows I won't raise mine, because I never do either. We sort of shrug at each other. I almost forgot, Mr. Landau says. He goes up to the whiteboard, writes the word bittersweet, and puts a 6 next to it. 20 minutes. My bittersweet memory. Jason and I are 6 or 7, grocery shopping with my mom. We're outside the Met Foods on Flatbush, and it's a sunny fall day. Jason and I are looking at some big plastic balls in a wire bin on the sidewalk by the front doors. Mom is waiting for us. We're about to go inside the store when we hear this thump, like someone has bounced a super ball against the store window, only there's no one there, and no ball. Then we see the bird lying on the sidewalk. It's tiny and brown and in a bad position, and Jason begins to freak out. I want to cry because I think maybe we did something that killed the bird. The first thing Mom does is pull us into a huddle and tell us that it isn't our fault. What happened was that the sun was shining so hard against the store window that the glass reflected the trees on the other side of the street, and the bird didn't even know the window was there. The bird thought it was flying into the air in the trees, just like on any other day. She has us breathe. Then she turns to the bird and says, Look. We look. The bird is pulsing. Its neck is sort of vibrating. Jason gets scared, thinking that it's having an attack or something, but Mom explains that it's just the bird's heart beating. Bird hearts beat very fast. The bird is alive, she tells us. It must have been stunned when it hit the window. And just then, the bird's head snaps back to a right-looking position on its neck, and it hops up and shakes itself. We start laughing and slapping each other 5. Mom says this calls for a celebration. She lets us each choose a plastic ball out of the wire bin, and she buys them for us. I have no idea where that ball is now, and I'm pretty sure Jason didn't keep his either. I don't write even any of this down on my paper, of course. In fact, I don't write anything down. I glance at Bob English who draws, and see that he isn't writing either. He's drawing a supervillain with pointy ears and a billowing black cape. He must feel me watching, because he looks over, then drops something down and shoves his notebook over to me. On one corner of his page, he's written, So dumb. I lean over and say, You know dumb has a B on the end of it, right? Haven't you heard of spelling reform? He asks in a low voice. No? I spell it like it sounds. Benjamin Franklin and Teddy Roosevelt both believed in it. He says, Look it up. Okay. Ask yourself, does that B serve a purpose? Why is it even there? Mr. English, Mr. Landau snaps. Shall I presume that you have finished your work and are ready to share it with the class? Bob English hunches over his drawing and says nothing. I don't say anything either. But what I'm thinking is that dumb just looks kind of dumb. Chicken is chickens. Lunch. The hot lunch is pasta with meat sauce. It's actually delicious. Maybe not umami delicious, but pretty darn tasty. Hardly any of the other kids will eat it, because if you eat anything other than a dry, crumbly bagel for lunch at this school, you're basically announcing yourself as a freak. You might as well be walking around without pants. But I eat the hot lunch. I figure that life will have its share of dry bread, and that when there is meat sauce on the table, I should eat it, and I do. I'm finishing my garlic knot when Jason walks over to me with the tray. He's not coming to sit. He's on his way from the cool table to the garbage cans. I am at a point on that line. Hey, he says. Hey. My mom says you guys sold your house. I nod. Yeah. You moved into an apartment? Yeah. Did you bring the fire escape? No, we had to leave it. Oh, dude. Sorry about that. I raise my shoulders and drop them. Stuff happens. Yeah. Your parents are still cool though, right? So I bet it'll be, okay. You're right, I tell Jason. It will be okay. It already is. He nods and walks away. It's hard to hate him, even though we kind of shrugged off our friendship like it was nothing. Because I've been watching him all year, and underneath that skateboarder outfit, he's the same person he always was. I don't know whether that makes it harder or easier. I watch Jason tip his tray into the garbage. His bagel wrapper sticks, and he takes the time to peel it off before he adds his tray to the stack. After school, Benny counts back my change and tells me, I saw your friend today. Who? Candy. Oh, I say, stuffing coins into my pocket. She's not my friend. She lives in my new building. One of my best customers, Benny calls after me. My key is somehow getting worse. To get the door open, I have to jiggle it in the lock and simultaneously pull the knob toward me as hard as I can. And the whole time I'm struggling, I can hear the phone ringing on the other side of the door. Hello? Come up, Safer says. Candy lets me in, and I follow her down in the hallway, trying to memorize everything she's wearing for when Safer quizzes me. She points at the living room, says, he's in there, and then takes a left to the swinging door that leads to the kitchen. I hear her mom's voice behind the door, and then Candy's high one answering, Just George. I notice there's a pretty good smell in the apartment. Safer is on his knees with a pair of binoculars raised to his eyes, looking through one of the 4 big windows. Overalls, I tell him. Purple t-shirt, blue socks. Sit. He points an elbow at the green beanbag chair. 3 hair clip thingies, I say, plunking into the beanbag, and some of those rubber band bracelets. Okay, great, you can stop now. Who are you spying on? I ask him. Someone across the street? He lowers the binoculars and stares at me. You're joking, right? If I were spying, I wouldn't want to be seen, would I? And so pressing up against a window like this would be a pretty dumb idea, wouldn't it? I guess so. I'm watching the birds. What birds? He puts the binoculars on the windowsill, picks up his spiral notebook, and writes in it. When he's done, he flips the notebook closed and looks at me. You know about the parrots, right? What parrots? The wild parrots, nesting over there. He points to a building across the street. See that air conditioner? With all the twig stuffed underneath it? That's the nest. I squint at it. They're like real parrots? Where did they come from? Runaway pets, maybe. Or some people think that they escaped from a crate at Kennedy Airport in the 1960s. Wow, I didn't know parents lived that long. These birds didn't escape. Their grandparent or something, probably. They've been living over there for years. Pigeon used to watch them. He had this book where he wrote down all the stuff about them, like when they laid their eggs and when the babies hatched. He looks down at his notebook. I'm taking notes now, in case he wants them later. My mom says he went teen crazy, but it won't last forever. That's nice of you. No, it isn't. It's probably just stupid. Candy appears in the doorway. Mom's cooking and her hands are full of guck, but she says, can George stay for dinner? She looks at me. Dad has to teach a last-minute lesson, so you might as well eat his food. Candy, her mom's voice calls out. What kind of an invitation is that? Guck doesn't actually sound all that great, but I say, sure, maybe. Let me call my dad. Candy smiles and retreats to the kitchen. Your dad's a teacher? I ask Safer. Kind of. He owns a driving school. Is it 6th Sense? Yeah. You know it? I used to walk past it every day on my way home from school. I call Dad in his cell and ask if I can stay. He says yes, but I feel kind of bad, picturing Dad eating alone, until he tells me he's over at the hospital saying hi to Mom, so maybe he'll just stay and have something with her. Want to talk to her? He asks. I'm down in the cafeteria grabbing a cup of tea, but you could call back in 5 minutes. I tell him Safer and I are busy right now, but that I'll get my homework done early so we can watch some baseball when he gets home. Dad sounds happy about that. The truth is that I did all my homework at school, during lunch, when other kids were talking and stuff. When I get off the phone, Safer says, Ready to get down to business? Sure. We need to keep track of when Mr. X comes and goes. We're going to try out a new piece of equipment. Phew, no lobby cam. He holds up a gum wrapper and says, Ta-da! That's equipment? The Best Buy equipment doesn't look like equipment, George. Here's how it works. Right before you go to bed tonight, you zip upstairs to Mr. X's and stick this gum wrapper between the door and the frame, at about knee height. When he opens the door to leave in the morning, it'll drop into the doormat. I'll start checking really early, so I'll know when he gets out. We're sitting in the beanbags, facing each other, so it's hard to avoid his eyes, but I'm not sure I want to be a part of this. I mean, what if the guy opens his front door at the very moment I'm standing on his doormat, fiddling with a gum wrapper? Safer's still talking, and then I'll put the wrapper back between the door and the frame, so that we'll know if he's come back. If the wrapper is still in the door when you get home from school, he hasn't come home yet. That means we have a window of opportunity. Opportunity for what? We're not up to that part yet. So I have to put the gum wrapper in at night, and then check it after school. Exactly. Great, so that's twice a day I'll be standing on the doormat of doom. Why a gum wrapper? Safer smiles. Think about it, George. A piece of paper on the floor is suspicious. But a gum wrapper provides its own story. Someone unwrapped a piece of gum and dropped the wrapper on the floor. People are slobs. End of story. No suspicions. Huh. Besides, we need to cover story in case one of us actually runs into Mr. X. I mean, what are we doing squatting on his doormat, right? So if you see him, all you have to do is straighten up, hold out the gum wrapper, shake your head, and say, "People are slobs," then walk away, nice and slow. Safer thinks of everything. It makes it hard to turn him down. We hang out and watch the parrots until dinner. Safer doesn't mention anything else about Mr. X, so I don't either. I learned to focus the binoculars and actually see one of the parrots fly out of the nest. Safer tells me that even though it looks like a messy bunch of sticks, the nest has 3 different areas, almost like little rooms. Candy announces that dinner is ready, and then Safer's mom comes out of the kitchen. It's the first time I've actually seen her since the first time in the lobby when I had to pretend I didn't know Candy. She smiles at me and shakes my hand and tells me I'm very welcome in their home, which is nice. Right before we sit down to eat, the door bangs open and a thicker, much taller version of Safer walks in. He's got dark wavy hair. A pair of sneakers with the laces tied together hangs over one shoulder, and he's wearing black jeans and a faded t-shirt. "Who's this?" he asks, pointing at me and smiling. "Pigeon," Safer's mom says. "Is that a hello? This is Safer's friend, George. He lives on 3, Candy adds. Pigeon's eyebrows shoot up. "Cool," he says. "Nice to meet you, George." He sticks out his hand and we shake. Safer slams into his chair. "Don't mind Safer," Pigeon tells me. "He's still mad at me." He turns to Safer and puts him in a headlock. "Can't stay mad forever, buddy. I'm still the only brother you've got." Safer squirms and turns his face away. Pigeon lets him go. The food is chicken stir-fry and rice, and it's good. Safer's mom and Pigeon pretty much carry the conversation, asking me questions about my family and school. I end up telling them about how we're studying taste in science, and about umami. I don't explain about how it's the science unit of destiny, because they would all think my school is full of idiots, and they don't need to know that. Safer frowns through the whole meal. Safer's mom watches as Pigeon picks all the chicken out of his stir-fry and pushes it to one side of his plate. She frowns. "Not with your fingers, Pigeon. And have you had any protein today?" "Ate a bean burrito for breakfast," Pigeon says. "Ha! Bean burrito for breakfast." In poetry, that's called alliteration. "Alliteration," Safer mimics. "Oh la la." "Are you a vegetarian?" I ask Pigeon. "No, I just don't eat birds." "Oh." "Tell him the story," Candy says. "Candy," Safer's mom says. "Don't talk with your mouth full. Swallow, then talk." Candy swallows and looks at me. "It's a really funny story." Pigeon smiles. "Okay, so one day when I was totally little, Mom, Dad, and I are driving along this road up in Connecticut when we see these cows. And I'm like, what are cows for? I mean, what do they do, you know? And Mom's trying to give me the easy answer, so she tells me, cows are for milk, remember? Cows give us milk. But then Dad pipes up, and meat. And I'm like, what do you mean, meat? Then he tells me that hamburgers are cow meat. And this light bulb goes on in my head, and I start thinking about all the foods we eat. And I'm asking, what about dumplings? And what about bacon? And they're telling me pork dumplings are from pigs, blah, blah, blah. I was real interested in all of it. It's one of those things you remember. You're just a little kid, and you're finally cluing into the real world, you know? And so then I say, what about chicken? Where does chicken come from? And right then this other light bulb goes on in my head, and I start screaming, chicken is chickens? At first they thought it was funny, you know, chicken is chickens, ha ha. But I was horrified. I would rather gnaw off my own fingers than eat a bird. And that was it. No birds for me since that day in the car. Isn't that hilarious? Candy says. Chicken is chickens. So what do you eat on Thanksgiving? I ask Pigeon. Don't ask me why I'm thinking about Thanksgiving in particular. It's just the one day of the year when everyone in the country is eating a bird, I guess. He shrugs. Stuffing, mashed potatoes, string beans, cranberry sauce, all the side dishes. I hear turkey doesn't have a lot of flavor. I love turkey, Safer says. It's delicious. I wish I could eat turkey every day. Safer, his mom says. No baiting. Safer pushes back from the table and stands up. Come on, George. You didn't ask to be excused, Safer's mom says. Fine. Can George and I be excused? She smiles. Yes, thank you for asking. I stand up and thank Safer's mom for dinner. She beams at me. Why do you hate your brother so much? I ask Safer when we're back in the living room, sunk into the beanbag chairs. I don't hate him, Safer says. He seems nice. Yeah, Safer says. He used to be nice. I wouldn't know anymore, though. He's gone all the time. Gone where? To high school. School? I laugh. How is that his fault? Safer looks at me. What do you mean, how is it his fault? It's completely his fault. He's the one who asked to go. Wait, don't you go to school? Of course not. Neither does Candy. Neither did Pigeon until last year. Seriously. 95% of school is a complete waste of time. At which point I experience a moment when I think my friendship with Safer is somehow meant to be. What Safer does all day while I'm at school. 1. Learns math from a website. 2. Helps prep dinner. 3. Reads. 4. Plays online Scrabble with his dad between driving lessons. 5. Walks the dogs in the courtyard. 6. Has coffee with Mr. Gervais on the 5th floor. They read the French newspaper together, Safer says. Sort of. 7. Watches baseball card auctions on eBay. 8. Plays chess with Candy. Candy is frighteningly good at chess, according to Safer. 9. Learns chemistry and Photoshop from his mom. 10. Watches the lobby cam. 11. Watches the parrots. When he gets home, Dad comes upstairs to meet Safer's mom and to thank her for feeding me. He's carrying a couple of binders and a saggy bag of groceries and looks tired, but he gets all excited when he sees the stove in her kitchen, which is apparently some kind of antique. Safer's mom tells him about a warehouse right here in Brooklyn where he can buy old appliances. Then she asks about Mom and where we moved from and all that, and I know they're going to be a while, so I wander into the living room. Safer looks up from his book. "I thought you left," he says. "Not yet." "You want to come for breakfast tomorrow? I'll make us eggs. I make really good scrambled eggs. I'll teach you." "Is that a spy skill?" He shrugs. "Spies have to eat." "I can't. I have to leave the house by 7:45 for school." "Oh, right." Dad comes out of the kitchen with Safer's mom, who gives me a long look. Then she smiles and says, "George, I want you to know that you are welcome here anytime, breakfast, lunch, or dinner." "Thanks," I say, wanting to leave all of a sudden. I look at Dad, who reads my face, and says it's time to go. Downstairs, I find the baseball game on TV, while Dad puts the stuff away he bought, which turns out to be plums, chips, string cheese, and 4 packs of these yogurt drinks Mom likes. Then we chill out on the couch with Sir Odd, eating chips and plums and watching the game, neither of us saying that it's a lot more fun to watch baseball with Mom, who actually knows something about it. Dad asks how I'm doing, and he even turns the volume down on the television just in case I want to pour my heart out, but I don't. Mom calls before bed and doesn't sound that tired. She asks me all about Safer's family. When I tell her Safer doesn't go to school, she says they sound like really nice bohemians. When I tell her that Safer plans to teach me the secret of truly excellent scrambled eggs, she says they sound like really smart bohemians. Dad calls them progressive. Nobody wants to say that they're weird. I give her a few play-by-plays from the Mets game, and we say goodnight. Later, while Dad is doing his nightly murmuring into the phone ritual with the door to his room closed, I slip upstairs to Mr. X's apartment and wedge Safer's balled-up gum wrapper between the door and the frame. My heart is going a mile a minute, but nothing bad happens. It's completely quiet up there. Before bed, I spell Mom a note with Scrabble tiles. The Mets won. Love, me. Mom's warning message says, "Bullpen needs work. Love you." Dad is gone already, and he's left a note and bagel money on the counter. I open the refrigerator and see that 2 of Mom's yogurt drinks are missing. First period. Science. I'm sitting quietly at table 6 with Bob English who draws, who is drawing. Dallas pats me roughly on the head as he walks by. "Hey, G. Great to see you, G. See ya later, G." "That was weird," I say when he's gone. Bob doesn't look up. "He's out to get you, you know." "No kidding. Isn't Dallas out to get everyone?" "Yeah, but you especially, ever since you knocked him over in the gym." "What? No one even saw that." But as I'm saying it, I realize I must be wrong. Obviously someone did. Everyone saw it. Anita, Chad, and Paul were like high-fiving. He's been annoying them all year, calling them the Nerd Squad and asking Anita if she's going to get a perfect score on her SATs. The SATs? You mean for college? Bob is still drawing. She thinks it's because she's Asian. You know, like, Asians are supposed to be super smart or whatever. I wonder if I'm wrong about Jason. Maybe he has changed. If he's willing to sit near a guy like Dallas at lunch every day. Speaking of the letter G, Bob says, "Did you know that Benjamin Franklin wanted to get rid of it?" "No kidding." "Yeah, not get rid of it totally. He wanted to keep the hard G and get rid of the soft G. You know, the hard G, as in go, and the soft G, like in George. Wouldn't that make George Washington really mad? Well, he had plans for the soft G. He could have spelled it with a J, right? Except that J is one of the 6 letters he totally threw away." "He threw out 6 letters?" "Yeah, but he invented new ones. He invented this letter ish, which sounds like sh and looks like a lowercase h, except with a swirly top. He wanted to blend the ish with other letters to get certain sounds. So he made the soft G sound by blending the D and the ish. It's a little confusing. And your name actually has a soft G at the beginning and the end, so it would look like this." He scribbles in the corner of his notebook and cites it over. "George." "Dehorda?" "No," he says. "You have to think of the ish as sh. Shorsh. You're not saying the D. Dishordsha. Are you even trying?" "I thought the whole idea was to make it not confusing," I say. "Yeah, but first you have to get used to it." I don't point out that that's exactly the way regular spelling is. It may be weird sometimes, but you get used to it. I look at what Bob wrote and I wonder, if Benjamin Franklin had his way, would Miss Warner try to make everyone call me Ish? Bob English has his head down again. Then he passes me a note. "No offense." He sees me staring at it. "No offense," he whispers. Last period. Gym. Volleyball. Again. Miss Warner is standing just inside the gym doors with a big smile on her face as we all troop in. "Really?" I ask her. "More volleyball?" She holds up her hand for a high five, but I leave her hanging because it's not Friday. "Just try to have fun, G. Only 2 days till the weekend. Remember, we're in this together." She looks sympathetic, but I'm beginning to wonder. Dallas and Carter are right behind me. Again. 3 steps past Miss Warner and they start. "Yeah, G, try to have fun." Ignore. One of them squeezes my shoulder. Big muscle, Gorgeous. I guess that's where the awesome serve comes from. Ignore. Carter says, Hey, Gorgeous, I'm talking to you. Answer me. Is the big muscle where the awesome serve comes from? Dallas says, Lay off him, Carter. You know freaks aren't good at sports. Ignore. After school, I catch Safer's call on the first ring. I've even had time to grab a pudding from the fridge. You're welcome, Safer says. For what? I fixed your lock. It hits me. For the first time, I didn't have to wrestle with my key. Hey, thanks. We have a problem. How soon can you get here? I eat my pudding on the stairs, glancing down at Mr. X's doormat on the way. The gum wrapper is lying there, looking like an innocent piece of garbage. According to what Safer said last night, that means Mr. X is home. At least, I think that's what it means. I lean down and pick it up, hoping he doesn't choose this particular moment to open his door. But as usual, I don't hear a thing. On 6, Candy answers the bell and says, You have chocolate on your chin. I forgot a spoon, I say, rubbing my face. She walks me down the hall, as usual. When she's gone, I present the gum wrapper to Safer, who's on his knees, frowning through the window. Oh, he says, so I guess you know who is home. But he seems distracted. What's wrong? I ask him, dropping into my green bean bag. The parrots are in trouble. Something is definitely weird over there. The nest looks different, smaller, and sort of disrupted. Is that bad? Maybe they're downsizing, or redecorating. My dad says knowing what to throw away is the single most important thing about sprucing up your home. That's not funny. Sorry, I thought it was a little funny. Maybe not America's Funniest Home Videos funny, but, you know, a modicum of funny. That's a vocabulary word. You probably don't know about those. He turns around to stare at me. What's with you today? I shrug. Do me a favor, Safer says. Go downstairs and check the sidewalk under the nest. See if there are any sticks down there. Sticks, I repeat. I'm so comfortable in the beanbag. Yeah, sticks. Just go check it out, okay? Why can't you check it out? I'm watching from up here. What I want to say is, watching what exactly? But I say, fine, I'll go, and pull myself out of my beanbag. In the elevator, I imagine a bird decorator who's wearing my dad's glasses, the funky rectangular ones he wears when he has a meeting, and flipping through a bird-sized binder full of twig samples. There actually are a bunch of little sticks on the sidewalk across the street, and one green feather. It's creepy, like I'm looking at a crime scene. I take the feather back to Safer, who holds it thoughtfully. I wonder if there was an attack on the nest, he says. It happens sometimes. Who would want to attack some parrots? They have nothing worth taking. Safer looks at me like I'm nuts. You're joking, right? I'm not talking about a robbery. I'm talking about falcons or hawks. Don't they teach you about birds of prey at school? Well, no, they don't. Safer is staring out the window again, running the feather up and down one arm. Whoa! Candy has crept up on us. Her pink slippers should be standard issue spyware. They are that quiet. Please tell me that's not a real feather. It came from, I point through the window at the parrot's nest. Candy shouts at Safer. Are you trying to give us all avian flu? Put that down, throw it away, and take a shower for Pete's sake. She stomps away in near silence. Her stomping will be a lot more effective when she outgrows those slippers, I say. He ignores me. After an attack, survivors usually flee the nest. I bet they're gone. All we can do is wait to see if they come back. Maybe we should watch the lobby cam for a while, I say, which perks him right up.